Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. My name is Amir Aviles. I am a business consultant supervisor here at the Small Business Center, and I will be your presenter for today's webinar. Today's webinar, titled How to Obtain a City of Chicago Business License, has been designed to give you a high-level overview of what to expect when it comes to obtaining a City of Chicago license. We will cover what that process looks like if you choose to pursue your license online versus in person, document needed for your application, information that you will need to furnish, steps to receiving zoning approval, the application completion process once zoning has been approved, paying for your license, inspections your business may undergo as part of the application process, holds that may prevent license issuance, and finally, receiving your business license. We will also give insight into how to renew your license when that time comes. And so to begin, let's talk a little bit about applying online versus in person. So applications to obtain a business license can be submitted for via our online platform, Chicago Business Direct, or in person at City Hall. If you choose to go the online option, you'll first need to register, and you'll do this by visiting chicago.gov/businessdirect. Once there, you'll create a profile. Now, it is important to note that only one user profile is allowed per person. As you progress in this process, you want to be sure to read the instructions carefully so as to ensure the created user profile is compliant. We will do an email and a photo ID verification so you can then be granted access to what's called license services. Doing or pursuing your City of Chicago license online, it's important to note that it's self-service. And so a lot of the communication that you can expect pertaining to your city license application will all be done electronically via email. It is self-service, so any documents that you need to furnish, you'll need to upload via the platform. You also want to note that there is a $25 deposit fee that's non-refundable. So before you apply, you definitely want to ensure that you do your due diligence. Now, if you choose to pursue your license, your City of Chicago license in person, this can be done at City Hall, 121 North LaSalle, Monday through Friday from the hours of 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., room 805. We do operate on a walk-in basis, and so no appointment are required or is necessary. Once you arrive at the Small Business Center, room 805, you'll see a reception where there will more than likely be one or two consultants, and you'll walk up to it. They'll ask you, what is the reason for your visit? And then based on the type of application that you're looking to, or based on the type of license that you're looking to obtain, they will then route you to uh, the proper division. It's important to bring your phone just because ticket issuance, so that you see the appropriate division, is issued via QR code. And so we'll have you scan the QR code. We'll help you or assist you as far as selecting what division to select. And then your ticket will populate via your phone electronically. Now, in all of this, they will more than likely provide you what's called a business information sheet. And this business information sheet will need to get completed so that when you get to the consultant, they're able to identify what type of license you're applying for, and also be able to verify the information that you went ahead and provided on that business information sheet. Now, do note that the business information sheet is available online, and so completing this form ahead of time, or at least taking a look, will prepare you or give you an understanding of what information you will need to provide us when you're looking to submit your license or your application for your license. Now, we did mention that we do operate on a walk-in basis. No appointments are necessary. But if you choose to check and see what the wait times are, do note that they are readily available online at chicago.gov/business licensing. Now, obtaining a business license is done so under a legal entity or as a sole proprietor. That said, by the time you're looking to apply, you should have already or you should already have an idea of how you plan on operating your business, um, allowing or giving time for you to be able to register with the appropriate government agencies. How you plan on operating will dictate some of the documents that you will need to satisfy. Uh, so, for example, if you're looking to apply as an LLC, you will need to provide those articles of organization. Or if you're looking to apply as a corporation, you will need to provide us articles of incorporation. Um, Choosing to apply as a legal entity will more than likely call for you to obtain an EIN number with the IRS. So you'll need to do this. If you're selling anything tangible, so if you're selling a product that your customer, your client can physically touch, walk away with, then you'll need to obtain an Illinois Department of Revenue account ID number, and this is obtained through the Illinois Department of Revenue. For all applications, we will need a government issued photo ID. Now, if you're going to apply as a sole proprietor, meaning under your name, you will need to register your assumed name or your DBA with the Cook County Records Office to ensure that you're permitted to use that name per availability. And if you're applying to obtain your City of Chicago license, but you're registered in a state outside of Illinois, you will need to register your entity as a foreign entity with the state of Illinois. And just to bring out, registering your legal entity is done with the Secretary of State. So once your documents are in order, then it's time to submit your application. Again, if in person, you'll submit the business information sheet that was referenced earlier. And again, that can be pulled online and be pre-filled ahead of time by visiting chicago.gov/business licensing. And if you're going to pursue or submit your application online, then you'll do it via the online platform Chicago Business Direct. Um, it's important to note that all applications will require the ownership information of all controlling parties. And by information, we mean name, date of birth, social security number. And by controlling parties, we mean the owners of the business, right? So if you're setting up a legal entity and you're establishing an LLC, you'll more than likely have managing members. And so we'll need all the owners, all the information of those managing members. If you're setting up a corporation, then the controlling parties will more than likely be a president and a secretary. And again, we'll need all that information. And do note that records must match. And so if you go to the Secretary of State to set up your legal entity and you list yourself as both president and secretary, then here in city records, we also have, that information needs to match. And so we would also list you as the president and the secretary. If there's any sort of discrepancy in who the controlling parties are, then it will need to either be rectified with the Secretary of State or on our end. Now, your application, once we have the ownership information for all controlling parties, will also call for the address so that zoning can determine if the activity you're looking to engage in is permitted at such location. Um, we need this And this is essential because all licenses are location driven, and they're not transferable. And so we are going to need uh, a clear address in order for us to be able to proceed with your application. We will also need the square footage of the establishment, um, and we need this to be able to identify if you have the sufficient capacity to be able to conduct that business. And at the same time, some license types, the fee is driven by the square footage based on how much the space measures. We will also need a detailed description of your business activities, so what you plan on conducting at such address. And this is important because what we want to do is we want to ensure that we properly license you. What we don't want happening is you're not licensed for the activities you're taking part of, and then at that point in time you're under license. That could lead to citations and other issues. And so we do need a detailed description of the business activities that you plan on conducting. And what we mean by that is how are you making money, right? So what service or product are you offering? The more we know, the better we'll be able to properly engage in the consultation and get you licensed. So to recap, um, the first step is you'll complete a business information sheet. Um, in order for that to happen, you'll register your business accordingly, or if you plan on operating as a sole prop, then you'll go with the county clerk. We'll need you to furnish all the information for all controlling parties. We need the address, we need the square footage, and we need to know in detail the product or service that you plan on offering. So once you have all that information, uh, and your application gets entered, um, this it goes through zoning, which is really the first review your application undergoes. And this is to ensure that first and foremost, the activity that you're looking to take part of or part in is allowed. Now, as previously mentioned, to ensure that a proper zoning review is completed, we need a detailed description of the activity that you plan on conducting, and we need a detailed description of the space, right? And it's important to provide us uh, with that descriptive activity, because to give you an example, if you're looking to open up a restaurant and you fail to mention that, you know what, I'm also going to engage in the activity of wholesale. um, while you may be allowed or permitted to operate as a restaurant, it doesn't necessarily mean that you may be permitted to engage in the activity of wholesale. And so it's super important that from the very beginning, you let us know, or you give us a description of what your activity, or what you intend for it to be. Some applications, as part of this review, this zoning review, will require you to submit site plans, surveys, architectural plans. In some cases, you'll need to comply with parking requirements, uh, and/or obtain a driveway permit from CDOT. And so, what we mean by that is, let's take for example architectural plans. Um, if the place that you're looking to operate this restaurant from was previously an office space, obviously that space needs to get converted, right, to meet the requirements to be able to then conduct a restaurant. And so that more than likely called for construction to take place. And that construction can't just happen out of the blue. You need to be able to pull the proper permits and plans to be able to do that. And so in that case, we would, if in our system we have that address registered as an office, and now you're looking to operate a restaurant, we're going to need to see architectural plans to determine or to be able to identify that that place has been properly converted. And so as you get ready to apply or go through zoning approval, it's important to keep these reminders top of mind. Check with us first. Do not enter into any financial commitment unless the city has confirmed as part of the license application process that your proposed business activity is allowed at that address. And so don't sign, don't buy. You first want to check uh, the address with us first, so that we can let you know whether or not X activity is permitted. The last thing we want you to do is assume that, maybe because the previous occupant zoning designation was a restaurant, that's also going to apply to you. And so do your due diligence, provide us the address, and ask us, hey, can X activity be permitted at such address? We'll have a zoning review the address, and then provide you with information regarding whether or not such activity is allowed at the address. And then understand that you may be required to provide supporting documents, right? We talked a little bit about it, but you may need to provide us permits, plans. Again, an example of this is if the address you give us used to be an office and now you want to run a restaurant, well, we need to verify that that place has been properly converted, and therefore we would need permits and plans. Now, once zoning approves, then this will generate a full application, which you will need to acknowledge and verify. Um, such completion includes verifying that all the ownership information we have entered is correct. And so what we'll do is we'll print out the application, we'll give it to you to review, because ultimately we want to make sure that we have correct contact information, date of birth, phone number, email, social security number, ITIN. Um, think about it this way: if for some reason or another we need to contact you, and it just happens to be that your phone number is incorrect, well, we're going to have a hard time reaching you. It'll just be more of a back and forth. And so when we give you this application, thoroughly review it so as to ensure that we have correct information. Completing the application might also require for you to provide us a lease or other documentation showing control of the property. From in some occasions, we will need you to provide us a lease to be able to demonstrate or satisfy that you have control of that property. And then the application itself, it's going to have questions that you need to answer. You'll be making attestations, and so any if the application is incomplete or incorrect, you can definitely expect for there to be some sort of delay. And so, um, you can take the application or you can fill it out on the spot. But what we definitely want you doing is making sure that it's complete and correct, so that there's no delays. Now, once the application is complete and it's been reviewed, um, zoning has approved, then a payment coupon will be generated. Now, payment for your license can be made in person at the Small Business Center, uh, um, or it could also be done at a city clerk office. We have one here at City Hall. And if you're doing the application online, then you would just process payment via the online platform. Do note that license fees are not refundable and vary in cost based on the license type. As previously mentioned, um, the cost of a license, if, for example, you're opening a food establishment, will depend on how much your space measures out. Another example of how of the license cost varies. On average, most licenses are about $250. However, for example, if you're opening up a child care facility, I think that license is like $165. And so the license fees do vary based on license type, but super important to note that they're not refundable. Now, just because you're paying for your license, that doesn't mean that your license has been issued, right, or is ready to be printed and given to you. For some license types, what payment triggers is inspections. And then once those inspections have been completed, then a final approval is granted so that your license can be issued. Now, when it comes to inspections, inspections are license type driven. So, for example, if you are an administrative office, well, more than likely, it won't call, for example, for a public health inspection, right? Because you're not doing anything with food. Now, if you're a restaurant per se, that you're actively preparing and serving food, then of course, 100% you will need a public health inspection. Um, and those inspections could include an inspection from the Department of Finance. And so that what they'll do is they'll do a debt check to ensure that you don't owe or have any outstanding balances with the city. If again, for example, you're handling food, um, you will more than likely need a health inspection. Um, some license types require a building inspection, a fire inspection, and then we have other license types that require a fingerprint-based criminal history investigation. So, for example, if you're opening up a daycare or you're doing anything with tobacco, right? Those license types are more regulated, and so a fingerprint-based criminal history investigation will be required. Now, um, to touch on license types briefly, um, your business and its activity will call for either a limited business license, what we call an LBL, or a regulated business license, an RBL, or a specialized license. Now, the most common license issued is an LBL. So, if you engage in retail sales, let's just say you're a boutique or a flower shop, or you're just selling general merchandise, um, more than likely the type of license that you'll land with or end up with is an LBL. Um, and for the most part, LBLs, limited business licenses, are issued same day. So as long as you have everything in order and you're properly, and your zoning a review gets completed. Now, some businesses require more attention from the city for the safety and protection of the public, hence why we have regulated business licenses or specialized licenses. And among those businesses, to name a few, are home occupations. So if you're operating a business out of your home, home repair. So if you're doing small home repair projects that would not require you to pull permits, uh, you'd be okay with getting an RBL. Uh, or if you are a long-term care facility, or if you're a real estate developer, you will more than likely again fall under that RBL bucket. And if you're not sure of what license type your business activity falls under, we got you, right? License type determination is made once your application is submitted. So you really don't have much to worry about there. All we need to know is, again, in detail, what product and what service you are offering. And then lastly, we have specialized licenses, right? So those among those are retail food establishment licenses, liquor license, tobacco licenses. These are considered specialized licenses because they require additional inspections before the license can get issued. And so therefore, those licenses are not same day issuance because again, they require additional inspection, additional review. Now, once you've gone through inspections, if any, then you're almost at the finish line. Remember, at this point, you've entered your application, right? So you filled out your BIS. You either submitted it online or you're doing it in person. Uh, and once you do that, then your application goes through zoning review. Once zoning reviews and approves, then you need to satisfy any documents that may be needed and or complete your application. And so, really, the last thing, if any, if any, that would hold up your license would be city holds. Now, before the license can be issued, Any holds that come up must be resolved. And typical holds, include, holds by the Department of Finance due to having an outstanding water bill, parking debt. And so you definitely want to check with the Department of Finance to ensure that there are no outstanding liabilities under your name. Uh, because again, if you need to go through a debt check and you go through it and you fail, this could prolong license issuance. And if you do have outstanding balances with the city, just know that you don't have to. You There's options to be put on a payment plan. Now, notices of holds, do note that instructions on how to resolve hold notices are sent by mail to business locations and are also available via Chicago Business Direct. So, after all inspections are approved and all holds are resolved, then congratulations, right? Your license has been issued, printed. You can now open for business. And so your license will be mailed via USPS to the mailing address, which more often than not is your business location. However, if you would like to arrange for us to hold your license so that you can pick it up here at City Hall, room 805, we can also work that out. And again, as previously mentioned, right, if the license type that you fall under is an LBO, so a limited business license, then you're more than likely obtaining that license same day when you apply. Now, let's discuss how to read this license certificate and highlight key details to keep in mind. Now, the vast majority of licenses issued are good for 2 years. So keep that in mind. We do have some license types that are only good for a year. So, for example, if you're applying for a valet operator or anything with liquor, typically those licenses are good for 1 year. So every year you would have to renew. Um, Going back to the license certificate, the upper section of it contains your legal entity name. So, again, how you're operating this business, right? In this case, the legal entity is the Dan Riker Hotel. The upper section will also have your DBA, which for the most part is different from your legal name. Think of your DBA as the name one would see on the door, right, or what you would put on your business cards. It can be different from your legal entity. The license will list your location of operation, the license fee amount, which varies based on license type, and the type of license you hold for operation. In this case, we see here that this license is a retail food establishment license. The bottom portion of your license will have the date it expires. And this is a date that you want to keep top of mind, as operating with an expired license is not really, it's a no-no. If you renew your license after the expiration date, you can expect a renewal, a late fee. And so do note that you can renew up to 60 days prior to the expiration date. So, um, you know, keep that expiration date top of mind, make note of it. And again, as mentioned, you can renew 60 days prior to. Your license certificate will also have your account number, which is a key identifier of your business relationship with the city of Chicago. And so it's located at the bottom left-hand corner. And think of this as, almost like your bank account number, which follows you everywhere and it allows for your relationship to be pulled up in the database. Similarly, that's what your account number does here at the city, right? We're able to pull up your entire relationship with the city as it pertains to your business license. And so you want to keep this number handy. And if you have multiple locations, so let's say, you have a location at 1234 North LaSalle, but then you have a second location at 78910 North LaSalle, where you see that site number at the bottom left-hand corner. that would show otherwise. So it could display a site 2, 3, or 4. That's what that number there means. And so um, here we have again, right, where you would see your licensee name, your license number, the date it was issued, your account and site number, and the expiration date. And so once your license is issued, it's important to note that you can register on Chicago Business Direct to do your renewals and conduct account updates. So, let's say you're looking to add an activity or you're just simply looking to renew. This can be done at Chicago Business Direct. So, um, for the most part, we try to have you register when you come in and you submit your application. Uh, but if for some reason or another that doesn't happen, just know that you can enroll or register on Chicago Business Direct yourself, so that you ultimately save yourself some time and money. Right? If you're up for a renewal, the last thing we want you to do is to have to walk away from your business. Right? Just know that you can renew and do account updates from the comfort of your office, and it can be done via Chicago Business Direct. Now, a good chunk of the visits that the small business center receives here are related to renewals. And so, while yes, renewals are handled in person here at City Hall, room 805, 121 or LaSalle, as mentioned in the slide before, they can also be processed online via Chicago Business Direct. If you need retrievals or copies of misplaced licenses, well, this is solely just done here in person. And so, should you need a copy, you would first come up to room 805, the eighth floor, where we would provide you a form, and then you would take that form down to room 107. And so, all in all, right, those reprints or copies are solely done in person. Uh, the owner of the establishment would be the one to request it, or if you've hired an attorney, a licensed expediter, if you have a CPA that runs your license matters, they'd be able to obtain one as well, or an employee of your establishment. However, they will need to satisfy proof of employment, so a pay stub, a business card, um, a W 2 for that matter. Now, similar to license issuance, license renewals will not take place if there are holds or inspections that need to be resolved and or completed or approved. And so this is why there's that 60-day time frame, right? It's another reason why you can renew 60 days prior, because you don't want to wait till the last day. You wait till the last day and there's holes that need to get resolved, and you're having a hard time contacting X, Y, and Z department. Next thing you know, you're unable to renew for whatever reason. Now you're stuck with a late fee. And so don't wait till the last day, for that matter, right? If you need to renew, remember you can renew up to 60 days in advance. And this will give you sufficient time in the event that there are any holds or any inspections that need to take place. Um, and in summary, for these services and much more, we invite you to visit chicago.gov/business licensing, where you'll be able to apply, renew, and update your City of Chicago license. You will also find information on required documents, application steps, and license types. Should you need additional information, then feel free to pay us a visit online. Um, via Chicago Business Direct or in person. You can send us an email with any questions you might have as it pertains to being licensed with the City of Chicago at businesslicense@cityofchicago.org. And then if you have any questions related to our online platform, Chicago Business Direct, then those questions can be emailed to Chicago Business Direct at cityofchicago.org. And so we will now, that concludes the presentation. So what we'll do now is we'll open it up for questions. And so let me take a look here. and see what we have. So one of the questions here says that I currently have a business in Chicago, but I will be retiring in July. My wife will continue to run the business, and I would like to know if she should obtain her business license before I terminate mine. So as it pertains to that question, it all really depends if she's currently on the license, right? If you're fully removing yourself from the business and she's on the license, she's on the legal entity, then we can do what's called a change of officer application, where we'll just end up retiring you. But you first need to make that change with the Secretary of State. Um, if she's not currently on the legal entity and on the license, and she's gonna create her own legal entity, then she would need to apply, and yeah, she can do it before you terminate your license. Once her license is approved and ready to issue, we would then go ahead and cancel yours. Can you apply for a share kitchen user license online, or is that just in person? Yeah, you can do it online. It does allow you the option to do it via Chicago Business Direct. Let's see here. If the business entity is not yet established and it's advised to not have financial agreements beforehand, how do we provide square footage and other relevant information? Is it the proposed square footage, assuming the business is running? So when it comes to applying for your business license, um, your legal entity or how you plan on operating, that's something that needs to get taken care of on the front end. Um, what we don't want you doing is, you can obviously get the square footage, of the space that you're looking to lease or buy ahead of time. For the most part, that gets given, or that can be furnished, and then we can go ahead and off that information determine, or off the address determine if the activity is permitted or not. Um, what we don't want you doing is, again, jumping into a financial agreement to buy something or lease something without providing us the address first and providing us the type of product and service that you're looking to carry out. Because if you fail to do that and you buy it or you lease it, then and it turns out, hey, that activity is not allowed, or you need to pursue what's called special use, then now you're on your own with that. So definitely check with us first. Give us the address. We'll determine whether or not the activity is allowed. Let's see. So, what business type category does a yacht charter fall under if offering tours, food decoration, and packages? Uh, I'm going to assume this might be by, you're referring to, yeah, we probably need a little bit more details just because there's quite a few products or services that you're looking to offer. So you could always shoot us a direct email at businesslicensing@cityofchicago.org, and we can definitely get into the description of what your activity is and determine how we can assist you with that. Do you have a list of items that need to be inspected for an auto repair shop license? Yeah, so we just revamped our City of Chicago website. And so if you go to chicago.gov/business license and you go to license types, there you'll find different types of license types. And there's one specifically for auto repair. And when you click on that, it'll give you a breakdown of the information you'll need to provide us and just required documents and further information. You can shoot us an email at businesslicensing@cityofchicago.org, and we can send you the direct link if that's easier. Um, so we have here a question asking if if I change the name of the business, do I need to start all over again? Uh, it depends, right? If what you're changing is the DBA, uh, meaning the sign that we would see at the front of your store, then no, you don't need to reapply. But if you change your legal entity, right? Like let's say you go from corporation to LLC, and you don't retain the same EIN number, then you would need to reapply. So it all really depends on what you mean by changing the name, right? If you're just changing the DBA, you don't have to reapply. But if you're changing your legal entity and not retaining the same EIN number, then you would have to reapply. So this says I own a commercial building and I'm working with a tenant who is considering starting a daycare. Sorry, I moved. So I'm going to assume that you have um, that in that commercial building, there's obviously a commercial space. Um, and so what it seems like you're trying to do here is figure out what kind of physical build out or modifications we would need to make the building in order to license the daycare there. So, that's something that again, right? You can hire an architect, or you could work with the Department of Buildings yourself, but they'd be the ones to be able to provide you what that build out needs to contain. How do you discontinue an old business that never made any funds? So I'm gonna assume that the question here is how do you close out a business? And so this can be done if you obtain your license and you're looking to close out uh, your license. This can be done via Chicago Business Direct uh, through license services, or you can come in person and submit for a cancellation form. Let's see here. So does someone wanting to get a cottage food license go through the same procedure? So a cottage food license, that application uh, is handled by the Chicago, by the Department of Public Health. Um, and that application you can find online. However, you're limited to what you can prepare from home. Um, you're very limited. Um, so let me see here, which is selling food. It all really depends on what it is that you're selling, or I'm sorry, what it is that you're preparing from home and then selling. I believe the cottage food license permits you to be able to prepare like bread. There's a list of items that it permits you to make from home. But if you're looking to make full blown meals, or things that require let's say heating and to be maintained at temperature, then you more than likely are not permitted to prepare from home. Again, the list is very limited. Um, More often than not, the city does not permit the preparation of selling from your home, and the preparation of food. But for more information, you can look online for the cottage food license, or you can shoot us an email at business licensing, and let us know what it is that you're preparing from home, and we'll be able to let you know if it's permitted or not. It says here, if you find a location you want to host as a small venue, um, and you have a place you want to rent, how do you go about getting a license? Yeah, so that sounds like it sounds like an indoor event space license. And so you first want to provide us the address, so that we can determine whether or not an indoor event space is permitted as such address. So here it says, I want to produce art or to snow eggnog in the future, what type of license will I need? Um, well, it depends where you're preparing it, right? More than likely, that's not going to be permitted for you to prepare from home. So you will need what's called, if you don't have a restaurant that you currently have a license for, then you will more than likely need what's called a shared kitchen user license. And so, in order for you to obtain that shared kitchen user license, you'll need to obtain a City of Chicago Food Manager certificate, and then you're also going to need a letter of intent from the share kitchen you plan on using to prepare the Zegnac. Once you have once you have that information, then you would come in and submit your application. Um, and once that application is submitted, then the step to follow is a consultation with the Department of Public Health. Great questions, everyone. Thank you. I hope I'm getting to them all. Let me see what else we have here. Let me get to the Q&A really quick. So who do I contact specifically to run the set address so that it can be approved or converted? So again, shoot us an email at businesslicense@cityofchicago.org. Let us know the product or service that you plan in detail, right? The product or service or your operation, and then the address that you plan on doing this from. What we'll then do is we'll forward that message to our zoning department, and they'll do a, a search and determine or inform you of what might be required. So how are inspections if it's a virtual service business and uses a virtual office, AKO? So the City of Chicago does not recognize PO boxes. So you cannot conduct the business out of a PO box. What are the late fees for expired licenses? I have one moved locations and it's been expired for several years. Um, so more than likely, if your license has been expired for more than 2 years, you will need to reapply. And really, the late fees vary again based off license type. And so, for example, if you're a peddler and you're late to renewing your peddler license, I think the fee is $25. But if you're a restaurant, right, I think the license, the expiration fee or the late fee is a little bit more. Also, is there an auto renew or email sent to renew? We are starting to send out emails. However, do note that your expiration date is on your license. Do we need an exam to have a business license? Uh, no. No. There are certain licenses that the city issues, such as trade licenses, where there might be, some, or for example, a pharmaceutical, you'll need to obtain a certification, but we ourselves don't do an exam. Um, However, there may be supplemental information that might require you to take a course or whatever may be the case. If you are renting a suite or space within someone else's business, a how do I go about a business license? Well, we need to know a little bit more about the type of activity that you are. Okay. Can the children's boutique, hair and spa, daycare operate in the same building under? I can't really make out your question. If you want to shoot us an email or pay us a visit, we can definitely get into that conversation. I can't make out the question. I'm sorry. All right, let's take a look. Um, so it says one last question. If I update my business mailing address with the state of Illinois, do I need to update my share kitchen license to reflect the same address, or does it stay as my home address? It'll stay as your home address. What type of license for indoor pickleball? If you're charging for admission, you will more than likely need a public place of amusement license. Okay, let's see here. Are domestic LLC still required to follow a BOI? So we don't advise regarding that. I would probably reach out to an accountant for that question, or check with the IRS. Okay, all right. Let's see here. Um, Let me get to the Q&A box really quick. Sorry, there's a
Do you
lot
see
of
the
questions.
questions in the Q&A box?
Yeah. Let me see here. Okay, so it says here it's not a PO box; it's a virtual office location. Okay, a clarification regarding virtual. If it's not a PO box, it's a virtual office. We have one entity, company, virtual company. Does the second company need a Chicago business license? If it's a separate legal entity, then yeah, it would need its own. It would need its own City of Chicago license. One license does not cover multiple legal entities. Each legal entity uh, or each would need its own license. All right, Stella, I think we got most of them taken care of. Um, so I
Okay.
think we're good to call it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, your account will reflect your attendance today. You should see that in the morning. This webinar was recorded. You can see today's and past webinars on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Tomorrow, we will be hosting our first expo of the year. Is our remote expo. There is still time to register. Just visit chicago.gov/biz expo. BIZ Expo. Again, that's chicago.gov/BIZ Expo. Thank you for attending and have a great day.